Welcome to Brainworms and Tangents. My name is Carissa.
And I'm Pamela.
And we're two 20-somethings with ADHD on a quest to chase our impulsive ideas we can't shake. This is a self-growth podcast that is all about becoming who you want to be, one brainworm at a time.
So, Carissa, I hear that you have a brainworm.
I do, Pam. Unfortunately, I think I'm addicted to my phone. And I've been on a journey to try and figure out how I can make my phone more of a tool and less of like a something that just takes all of my attention all the time. So that's what I want to talk about today. I think it's not just a me issue, and I think everywhere I look, people are always talking about the newest thing or newest app or ways that they're like reducing their screen time. And I just think it's become a bigger problem than people realize.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. So, we both work on college campuses, and it's so interesting seeing the students walk around with their faces just glued to their phones. And it feels like I'm in Wall-E, where it's like the people just looking at the screen, like literally just walking from one building to the next. They pull out the phone and they pull up TikTok or pull up Instagram, and it's totally sucking everyone in. Like, no one is okay with just being alone with their thoughts.
Yeah, just being quiet. And I think you and I have talked about this when it comes to how we consume audiobooks and podcasts and music. It's just everything is so convenient and so online. It's very easy to occupy your time. Like, you're driving from place to place, you listen to a podcast. You're going for a walk. Oh, I'll catch up on my audiobook or listen to the latest album. But I think there's rarely ever time where we're not consuming anything.
Yeah, and there was a post on Substack, I think I actually sent it to you, where it was basically saying, we fill in all of these gaps with consumption, and there's no space for your brain to think and to problem solve and, come up with unique ideas. So it's not just that we're constantly consuming, but we are almost, feeding back into the algorithm the same stuff that we have, because we're not coming up with anything unique. We're just only thinking what we're consuming.
Yeah. What is that called?
A feedback loop.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. No one has original ideas. It's all trends. Everything is the most like viral video and those things. Some of them are good, don't get me wrong, but I don't think like 2014 me getting an iPhone in high school would have ever predicted the like magnitude that it is today.
I totally agree with that. And I don't think anyone realized that it was going to turn into this and that people were going to legitimately be addicted. I mean, people get nervous and like they have physical symptoms when they don't use their phones or can't use their phones for a little while. And like, that is literally addiction. Your brain is addicted to like the dopamine that it's giving you.
Yeah. I think it was almost a year ago is when TikTok was removed from like the App Store, and it was just so interesting seeing everyone like flood to Twitter, and everyone was just tweeting all of these things. And I even caught myself a few times going to click on the app even though I knew it wasn't there, like nothing was going to happen. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this is an issue. And I've just been seeing myself do that a lot. Like, I'll open something, okay, I'll go to close it and I'll just reopen it, and I'm like, what are we doing? Like, why is this so ingrained? So like, I've been seeing so many different things. I mean, Apple has their own built-in like focus modes, and they have screen time and screen limits that you can put on different things. There's been so many apps. You have an app, right, that you use to kind of block off?
Yeah. Yeah, I've been on my digital detox journey for a little while now, just because I did feel sucked in by my phone, and I found out that I wasn't doing stuff that I genuinely wanted to do, and I was just wasting time on my phone. Whereas like I feel like it's really bad when I was like, oh, I'd really like to make progress in this video game, which is like another screen, but like I even didn't have enough focus or time to
Mhm.
play a video game, which is at least a little bit more productive than
Yeah.
scrolling on your phone, right? Like you're at least using your brain a little bit. So I was like, okay, this is bad. Like if I can't even make time for fun stuff because I'm doing this thing that I don't even find that fun, like that is a problem. So I downloaded this app. It's called Opal,
Hmm.
and I really like it. I ended up deleting all of my social media apps off of my phone, except I left Instagram there. And Opal only allows me to open Instagram 5 times a day for 5 minutes at a time. And I was able to decide what that looked like. So I decided that many opens. And I also made a block where I can't open the app from 10 p.m. to 10 a.m. So around bedtime and when I wake up, I don't need to be on it. And I think it's been really helpful because realistically, that is enough time to just see what people are up to and just catch up on things that I actually care about, like look at my messages. But then anything past that is just me being sucked in and scrolling, and I don't feel like I'm less connected, or if I do feel like I'm less connected, it's in a positive way where,
Hmm.
I don't have these random trends and random things that really aren't that important
Yeah.
for me to know. So it's been a really positive experience for me. I've been reading more. I've been just like doing projects around my apartment that I've been meaning to get to just because I'm like, well, guess I'm not scrolling on my phone. I have to find something to do, and I'll go do something that I should be doing, which is
Yeah.
fantastic.
You bring up such a good point. I think the whole creation of Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat was all about community and about connection. It was ways to stay in touch with people that were halfway across the country, and it was just ways to connect. I mean, I don't know what like Mark Zuckerberg's initial dream was. I think he just wanted to find a girlfriend at Harvard or something. But it was like I remember I was like, oh, I don't really use Facebook, but like I'll post on there because like my grandparents can see it and like my aunts and uncles that don't like live in the same state. But it's just like sometimes it can be so toxic and people are always just taking to Facebook and Facebook comments. It's anti community, it feels like. I remember being in high school when like iPhones, like everyone kind of had an iPhone or people were getting an iPhone at that time, like my freshman year. And we got Wi Fi at school because we had Chromebooks. And it's like outside of just like technology, like in our phone, like we didn't have like computer labs anymore. We had the Chromebook carts that people could have, and we had people were getting VPNs on like their iPhones and iPod touches so they can
We
use
did that
Snapchat.
too.
And I was like at that point, like it was just like a haha he he. I just want to like talk to people in school. I think maybe one of my classes had like a cell phone bin that you would put all your phones in. But now I think that's all kids are doing is like they have little cubbies where they put their phones. They can't touch them. Or I've seen these things where they put their phones in like these bags and then they have to like get them locked and then unlocked at the end of the day. Have you
Oh,
seen those?
interesting. No, I have no idea what they're doing in the high schools
Yeah.
now.
I don't know. It's so interesting. But yeah, I don't think like 14-year-old me would have realized like the magnitude of everything. Um with Snapchat, I still like I barely use Snapchat, but the people I Snapchat the most on there are my grandparents.
Oh, that's funny.
It's like I think they've adapted to having like younger Gen Z grandchildren where the only way they're going to communicate is if it's in a photo or video. So like my mom has Snapchat, my like it like all my younger cousins and it's so silly, but the person I Snapchat the most is my grandma and my grandma got mad at me when we lost our streak. So it's just so interesting seeing how everyone's kind of adapted to I don't know, just being glued to our phones.
Yeah. I think back to this moment. when I was in college, and stay with me here because it's kind of convoluted, but
Okay.
I had a friend who had taken up juuling because it was 2016, right?
Yeah.
And, another friend was like, oh, like, do you feel addicted? Like, do you feel like, what is it doing to you?
Yeah.
And her response was, no, I don't feel addicted. It's kind of just like, like scrolling on my phone where like after a little while of not doing it, I feel like, oh, I want to scroll on my phone. It's like, oh, I want to hit my jewel. And I thought that was such an interesting parallel because, like, okay, you're clearly addicted to both nicotine and your phone. But she's like, I'm not addicted to either. It's just like an impulse to do these things and you do it. And I thought that was just such an obvious metaphor for what social media and our phones are doing to us, where it is on the same level of nicotine.
Yeah, I don't think people are calling it what it is. I think we associate addiction with drugs and alcohol and not a phone that's designed to let us call people. And I it's just growth. Like, I don't think Steve Jobs knew what was going to happen when he like made the iPod and the iPod Touch and all of these things. I don't know if you remember seeing this. This was in 2018. But do you know who Bo Burnham is?
Yes.
Okay, so in 2018, Bo Burnham did this interview where he's talking about social media, and he says that social media companies are colonizing every minute of your life. He said, like, we've already colonized all the land, and now they're like colonizing human attention. And that was in 2018. This was like pre-pandemic. This was like, I don't even think TikTok had grown like as much as it is today. Like, and he was still saying those things. And that video keeps resurfacing now as people even more realize that he was just like way ahead of the time of understanding what this was going to do.
Yeah. I think it's really interesting, that idea of tech companies are just colonizing every minute, because I listened to a podcast recently. The podcast is by Ashley Embers, and she did an episode talking about sleep and how our sleep is being taken by these tech companies. So I'd never heard this before, but she shared how Netflix once said that their biggest competitor is not another streaming service, but the fact that people need to sleep. And I think that's so interesting, of literally they're taking every waking moment, and they want also the moments that we're asleep, and they're able to take them, right? Because there's always that moment of staying up a little longer to watch another Netflix episode, or you're like, I'm going to watch a couple TikToks before bed. And then it turns out to be an hour's worth, 2 hours worth. And now you have woken up your brain and you feel less sleepy and you can't sleep. So you're ruining your sleep hygiene. And then what do you do to try and fix your sleep? Okay, well, you download the Calm app to try and sleep better. You buy an Aura ring, which I have an Aura ring, so no hate to people with Aura rings, but you buy an Aura ring and use that app to try and fix your sleep. And it's like, the more that we use this, the more that we're feeding into it. And it's just so messed up. So I really appreciated that episode. We'll link it in the show notes by Ashley Embers. But it was just mind-blowing to me that, like, we're not even safe when we sleep.
That's crazy. Well, and Netflix also, since they have original shows where they have these premieres and releases, they're releasing them at like 8 or 9 or even at midnight. So you are staying up and you're going to stay up and watch them. And if you think about like television and movies, we've created like a binge culture of like, oh, I'm gonna like Stranger Things, for example. People were like rewatching all of the seasons leading up to the finale, so they're spending even more time for this like cultural phenomenon. There's nothing wrong with that. I love watching TV and movies, but it is interesting when you think about how much streaming has impacted the, I don't know, just like the world. And there's an app for Netflix. Like, I remember when you had like, did you have a Wii where you got like the disc? Like, I had, well, there's two different things. The Wii had a Netflix channel, And then
Yes,
Netflix
I
used
have
to
that.
mail you the disc. And I remember when we got, I actually still have it. I have my like Netflix, like you had to like order it or something through Netflix to like get the Netflix disc for the Wii, if you
Hmm.
wanted to watch it. But it's just like,
It sounds like you should declutter that pretty soon.
no, I can't. I cannot. That seems like a historical artifact. Like we got to really experience the change. So I don't know. I think that's why it's been such like a weird feeling where I'm like, no, it's okay to say you're addicted to your phone, even though like this was once like that. It wasn't always that way, you know?
Yeah, 100%. Another thing that I've been thinking a lot when it comes to phone addiction is it starts when you're a child and you become an iPad kid, or if you didn't have an iPad as a kid, using your
So
parents' phone when they want you to be
yeah,
quiet. But
yeah.
it's like it's really made me think about how when we just put kids' faces in front of a screen, they aren't participating in society and culture, and they're missing out on really basic traditions and rituals that they don't understand how to navigate as adults because when they were a kid, they weren't participating in them, right? So, like going to a restaurant, they're not paying attention to how their parents are ordering, how their parents talk to the waiter, that the parents leave a tip, what, basic etiquette is at a restaurant because their face is on the iPad. So then now, when they're old enough to go by themselves, they haven't been witnessing these social norms and then they don't know how to behave. And it's just such a problem that, you know, just not participating in real life because you're on your phone leads you to not understand what's going on in the world around you. And then they try and learn these social norms through TikTok, but you can't generalize what you see on TikTok because it might be something that is specific to one region or to one person's experience. But then people are going on TikTok sharing like it's the absolute norm and then it's not. And it's just so bad. And we're seeing it already, like I mentioned, since we work with college students, seeing college students who don't really know how to navigate life because the only way that they've witnessed life is like through someone else's phone camera.
Yeah. I think a lot of the issues just stem from being able to communicate with people. I've talked with so many people that are having like issues navigating their friendships and relationships, but the only way that they're talking to them is in a Instagram group chat or a Snapchat group chat. And I'm like, do you not have their phone number? Like, do you not call them? Like, can you not text them? Do you not just tell them in person? Like, people leave notes for each other. And it's like, we probably always had that sort of passive way to deal with conflict, but I just think it's really getting out of proportion. Or what do they do is they call their parents, and their parents are calling the school and having those conversations for them. But going back to like your restaurant example, I think as a society, like convenience culture is really a lot of what we've adapted to. We have Uber Eats and DoorDash, and people are doing takeout instead of dining in. And there's no need for them to learn how to talk to a waiter, or they can just put a reservation in online or do everything online. And I don't know. It's like, if I think about it too much, I think I'll spiral. But like,
Mm-hmm.
we are losing the just being normal and like having, I don't know, like all these normal conversations. People were like posting photos of like 2016, reminiscing on 2016, and just being like, wow, like this photo looks like that. And I keep seeing things from like even older, and I'm just like, it's a different world. And we couldn't really have
Mm-hmm.
predicted what it could happen. I think I mentioned this maybe in another episode, but there's the trend of this year being an analog year,
Mm-hmm.
of people trying to get off of their devices, do that digital detox. People have been making like activity or analog bags of just fun
Mm-hmm.
things they can do with their hands. People are like, I don't know, making plans with their friends, hosting parties and like dinner parties and just like fun things with their friends. And it's so interesting seeing like these are such basic things that we should know how to do, but now it's like a trend of like let's do all this stuff. People are also bringing back like single use technology, like digital cameras and CD players. And I just think, yeah, we really yearn for 2010s, I guess.
Yeah. That reminds me of another Substack post, which is just a little ironic, is um, she said, if we were really going analog, I would not be hearing this much about it.
That's
So,
true.
so I think it's like very much a trend, but are we following through with it, or are we just buying a digital camera so then we can upload those pictures on Instagram? Or are we, printing out those pictures and creating a scrapbook and doing something with your hands, creating? Not to say you can't create digitally, but I think it's about creation rather than consumption, and if we're feeding into that.
Yeah, no, that's so true. Maybe those people are using their 5 minutes that they have on Instagram to post these things, then they're getting off of them. But I don't know. It is interesting just how, as a world, we haven't been this connected, but also disconnected at the same time from each other. People are
Mm-hmm.
so like quick to like a stranger's post or comment on a TikTok post, but they're not going to say hi to someone in person, or they're not going to just like make a friend and ask someone a question when they're like sitting in class next to them. It's like, why do they do that when they have like a community in their hands? But we've been seeing like loneliness spikes in people. I think that's like a lot of the work that I do is just people don't have that community because everyone has either their own or they're just not, they don't need to make one.
So, are you thinking of other ways that you're going to participate in the digital detox? Do you have kind of a plan?
I think I just need to find something that actually works for me because I think
Mm-hmm.
I've done a lot of, again, these like life hacks of ways to get off your phone and different things like that. Like I've tried doing like downtime and screen time on my phone, but that hasn't been super helpful. I think I like the with screen time when it pops up and says like, oh, you reached your limit. Sometimes that's enough to be like, oh, okay, let me get off of it. But sometimes it's not, which is why we have the other apps like Opal and different things like that. And I actually just got an ad for Opal prior to this. So I'm like, okay, maybe I should look into that. I've done the thing where you make like your phone all grayscale
Mm-hmm.
to make it less appealing for you to be on it. And I was just more like, wow, everything looks cool in black and white. Like, I don't know. Like, it wasn't super helpful. There was this app that would make like your phone like a dumb phone and just look very like simplistic. Like you
Mm-hmm.
can decide what apps was on it. It was just like a black screen with white text, and it would say phone, messages, Spotify, and like that was it. But I didn't really like that either. I think it's hard when I use my phone for work a lot of the times too. So to be able to switch
Mm-hmm.
back and forth.
Have you seen that some people create a phone box for themselves in their homes, or, treat their phone as a landline? So you hook it up to the landline, and it's like when you're home, that's where the phone lives. And, we both have Apple Watches, so it's not like you're going to miss any important notifications. You're still going to get them. But the difference is, you're not scrolling, or you're only picking up the phone and you have to use it
Hmm.
connected to the phone box, which I think is really interesting.
That is cool. I think I've seen people make just like their fun phone boxes or like this is my phone shelf and all those things, and it seems to work for them. I've also seen there are these two guys that made the brick,
Mm-hmm.
which, if you don't know, the brick is like this little device that when you tap your phone, it shuts whatever you want to be shut down, and you can't get back on those things until you like re-tap the brick. But like also that piece of like that device is like $60. And people are buying it
Mm-hmm.
because they need a solution and they need something to get off their phone. People have switched to like flip phones. Like I think about it and like I understand like yeah that like we need this, but also I'm like have we really gotten to a point where we need to buy another piece of something to get off of our phone?
Right. Like maybe start with deleting all the apps off of your phone. I think that's why I'm a little skeptical of like the light phone
Mm,
or the flip phone. Light phone is kind of like a smartphone, but it only has like 3 apps, which is like camera, calculator, and like phone or something like that. And I'm a little skeptical of those because what is the point of creating more garbage, creating more useless tech by buying that if you have a perfectly good iPhone? Now, I think there's something to be said if your phone breaks and you have to replace it, then maybe getting one of those pieces of technology. But I'm so conflicted about something like that because I also see how useful it is to use a phone to stay connected. And I think for me, I grew up with immigrant parents and I watched technology evolve to a point where we could be connected through the internet. And, when I was much younger, we could chat and email and stuff like that. Um, but we would buy these long distance cards for your phone. And my mom was always picking those up at the store so she could call family, and you had to pay per minute of long distance. And it was really challenging to stay connected, right? Because you had to be on your phone. And of course, if you were using the phone and it had to be a landline, then you couldn't be on the internet, or, that it was hard to stay connected in that way. And we could still video chat, but only on the computer, right? And the
mhm.
phone wouldn't work if you were video chatting on the computer. So it's not like you could do hours long calls. And I watched that evolve to a point where now it's so seamless, right? I can FaceTime my cousins who live halfway around the world. And, the same way that I'm FaceTiming friends who live down the street.
Yeah.
Um, it's really been so cool to see that evolve and be able to stay connected. So I value that so much, but it's so unfortunate that because of my own lack of self-control that I can't enjoy the connection, that I ruin it for myself. And you're right. I think just not giving yourself the option, sure, it'll maybe work for a little while, but we're not getting at the root of it, which is that we aren't practicing self control and we aren't breaking that addiction.
Yeah. And that's like, I don't want to talk about all the negatives. I think it's important to like recognize like, yeah, this is like an issue, and there is so many solutions or things that are trying to help people alleviate. But I do think going back to like the phone being a tool is something that I think is particularly helpful for people with ADHD. Like there are just small ways that I use my phone that I think help my day-to-day life, and there's so many more ways that I could continue using it to like go back to being helpful instead of harmful. Like one of the things we talked about, which was like time blindness, I think last episode. And with when I'm taking a shower, for example, I have no idea how much time has passed. I think the shower is like a place where it could be 5 minutes, it could be 30 minutes. And I'm like, I have no
Mm-hmm.
idea. So when I'm in the shower, I'm always listening to music. For the longest time, I would listen to Taylor Swift's All Too Well, the 10-minute version, and I would use that as a timer because I knew the song really well and I knew at certain points like how much time was left, to the point where that song became like in my like Spotify Wrapped like top 5 for a few years. But I was like, it was so helpful for me to be like, oh my gosh, we're at the bridge. I have like 4 minutes left. So like if I needed to get somewhere fast, like I would play that song. Or I would just play playlists or songs that I knew how long they were because that was a way to help. You and I both have different like smart assistants in our apartments. So like I have like the Amazon like Echo and Alexa, and you have like Google. And I think there's like I don't think I'm using them to their full potential when it comes to like how I could help myself function. Have you set yours up in like any fun ways aside like we both have it, I think, what, controlling our lights and things. Like are there any other ways that you've used it that just like have overall improved things about like your life and environment?
Yeah, I have just routines set up. So my lights turn on, I think like 30 minutes before I'm supposed to wake up to help, wake me up a little bit. But something fun I did at my mom's house is that she also has ADHD undiagnosed, but it's very clear where this came from. And she is diabetic and never takes her insulin like on time. She is never measuring her blood sugar and putting in insulin in like a schedule. So I set her Google to have routines where it says, good morning, measure your sugar. And then a couple minutes later is, you should be starting to eat breakfast. And now it's time to take your medication. So kind of spacing out her day and time blocking for her because I'm not there to tell her to do these things. So it helps her be like, oh, yep, the Google said this, I need to be doing this. And she ignores it sometimes, but she's at least knowing how much time is passing, which is beneficial. So that's really cool. The other thing I did was I did it for my cat. So my Google will say at 7:45, it tells my cat, Felipe, it's time for dinner. And when he hears that, he knows that dinner is ready. And I have an automatic feeder that has wet food, but I have to refill it every 3 days. So sometimes I hear that, and he, obviously when he hears that, he's like, it's time for dinner. And that helps me if I ever forget to refill it, is like, oh my gosh, like he is so excited for food. I need to do this right now and it can't wait. So it kind of helps me with that routine too.
No, that's so important. Especially like you said, if you're not able to like be there like with your mom for her to, you still like rest assured like she is going about her day. But it's funny having your animals also be on, their lives are also controlled by technology. But that is funny. Yeah, the routines are super helpful because I can get like the weather as I'm getting ready and all these things. I think I need to add more routines because I think like having other like cues to do things would be helpful. And I get a lot of videos about how to like use the shortcuts app in the iPhone to do other things that can, I don't know, further get me moving in the morning. One thing I used to do in grad school that I think I should start doing again is after my alarm would go off in the morning, it would play music. I think I had it play like the same song, which got old, but I could make it play like a playlist. And I think for me, if I have like something that's like, okay, time to start the day, time to get up, like some upbeat music, I'm not gonna like lay in bed. I'll feel more like motivated to jump up and get moving. And I think that's like kind of part of, I don't know, things that I just don't want to get up in the morning. But I think the way like our environment shapes us is how kind of productive we can be. And same thing with like in the shortcuts is a lot of like NFC tag things and just stuff that I haven't fully tapped into that I think would be fun to explore and see how they can be helpful. I want to get back to using my phone more as a tool than crutch.
I think that's really great.
So we'll see where it goes from here, but I'll have to make my little analog box, I guess, of puzzles and games and stuff. And really just like have it in the open. I think having something that's visible and in your face is like a good way to remember it's there. Because I think if I don't see things, I kind of forget I own them. So we'll see. Maybe I'll make a phone box.
Yeah, I think that would be really good. And I think I might do that myself just because I think it's easy to find other apps to just open. I'll end up opening like my health app and start looking at my steps and just start, which isn't unproductive, but also like I don't need to do that. I don't need to be staring at that. That is not, I'm just doing that because I can't open up Instagram, right? So I think getting the phone out of my hand is important.
Yeah. Well, when I had my like screen time, I made a limit for photos because I would just get lost in the nostalgia and just start being like, oh my God, 2013, what a year. And I'm like, no, go to bed, get off your phone. I don't need to be doing these things. So I might revisit screen time and see, or I'll download Opal and see what those things have. My goal is just to reduce my screen time and get off the phone. So we'll see where that goes. But
Yeah.
thanks for indulging me in this conversation.
Yeah. Good luck with that, I think. That'll
Yeah,
be good and hopefully creates more unique ideas for this podcast. Just disconnecting.
exactly.
Well, thank you all for tuning in to this episode. To stay connected, follow us on TikTok and Instagram at Brainworms and Tangents. If you're enjoying this podcast, share it with a friend. And we'll be back for a new episode every Wednesday. Bye.
Bye.